Okay, so I thought it might be worth doing a demo of a few, maybe 3 or 4 drawings just to give you an idea and a clear picture of the workflow. So what I'm going to do is set this to 5 frame intervals so that we get big jumps in between the different movements, and then I'm going to set 5 minutes, right, just so we can go through these and do the repetition of the approach. So here's my start: head, gesture, so cervical, thoracic, lumbar, pelvis. Here you can kind of see the weight pushed on this side, femur, and then lower leg and foot, and a little bit of a height there on the foot. Could double check proportions just by doing that quick halfway, supporting leg, down, and then foot here, and then let's put arms related to the hole. Same thing here. That's good enough. Okay, so next part is tilts. So weight, my lightning bolt is a reminder, pushing this side of the pelvis higher, dropping this side of the ribcage back, neck forward, head upright. Tilts give way to shapes. So I'll put my masses here for the basic volumes, ribcage and pelvis. And then once I'm done with this, I can give my pinch and stretch. So I'm going to do C curve. You can start here wherever you want. It doesn't really matter. Always wrap those lines and overlap. Stretch here to kind of build that sense of continuity between the two. And I guess this side looks like it's pinching more to me. I'll have to say on a lot of these it's kind of tough to make out because they're so dynamic. This side looks like it's more stretching. Okay, now landmarks. Pit of the neck, clavicles, sternum. You can see there pretty well the recess between the chest or the pectoralis. Thoracic arch looks like it's ending kind of there inside. Then this side looks like it's pushing against the shape. And then, I do this a lot as I work through the drawings. I'll try to look at the rib cage, and then I'll double check what does the head look like relative to it. So I always am trying to check perspective again and proportion. So here down through the midsection, the as is, bottom of the pelvis, great trochanter, the femur. And I already kind of have an idea for this. I could stack the patella, tibia, fibula, and then ankle, triangle for the foot. Same thing on this side. And then I'm going to imagine the scapula back here, just as that triangle coming around from the back. Here's the head of the humerus. Where do you think the funny bone is? Here. Can double check that length. And then this is pronated. So I'm going to make my X, and then the into the hand. Same thing here. Okay, that's good enough. Now all I'm going to do is connect dots. So width, height, with that lean, tilt backwards. So I'm trying to match this tilt or get close to it. Doesn't have to match it perfectly. It's just a reminder. Here's my depth. Then I'm just copying and pasting all the lines. Color this in. Same thing for the pelvis. Width, depth, height. If you want, you could start trying to find the three, each individual one, and then go back and copy and paste like I'm doing here. And have about 27 seconds or so to get some cylinders in. This is coming towards. And then one thing that I think is useful is don't kill yourself to get through something in 5 minutes if you don't understand. It's better to just do the steps you do understand well until you're comfortable with them. And then when the pose is done, start over. Right? Speed will eventually come with time. What's going to help the most is just constant repetition. So here's this back pose. So head, cervical, thoracic, stretch, lumbar. Now I see the weight shifting in the raising leg or the hip raising to go with that. And then femur. Still have a big lift off the foot. Here's a leg, femur, and coming back. I like a lot of these gestures are great, but sometimes I'll use these curves and kind of try to blend them into the other forms. It's not something that we talked about, but something I end up doing a lot when I draw from bodies. Here, it's going forward, and then scapula, or play this curve off the cervical, and then forward. Okay, same thing. I'm gonna go this way though. My tilt's gonna go with this side. Rib cage I think is tilting this way. Neck goes forward. Head, you could just look at the jawline in this one. It gives it the tilt, or really in most. And so now shape. What's the proportion? How's it angled? There, so I'm setting my marks. And then finding my shape. Now I'm gonna do the connections. Overlap and wrap always. And then I'm going to try to put a C curve on this side because there's some pinching going on. So I'll put a C curve here. That's my C. And then this side, S. And you can see that I do my best to try to keep the lion weight really light until I'm getting confident or more confident. Now, landmarks for the back. Skull, spine, 7th cervical vertebrae, thoracic. I'm going to try to find the floating ribs as just this low. Right, and I see maybe it's ending here inside the egg. Lumbar. I'm going to have to imagine this. Sacral triangle about a third of the way down. His is or posterior spine on either side. And then let's use our abilities to kind of think or see through to find the femur. Tibia, fibula could be the same as from the front. Just leave out the patella shape. And then same thing here. So scapula on the back, arms pulling forward. So I'm going to pull it away from the spine a little bit. And then I always curve this line so it goes with the ribcage form. So there, and then do your sphere. Notice here I didn't get that gesture line right and I'm changing it. That's great, that's what it's there for. Forearm, this is pronated, so I could put that X. And then we have the hand and thumb. And then on this side, same thing. This scapula is pushing back. You can see how looks like it's closer to the spine there. So I just curve it and pull it around the volume. And then same setup. And what's great about this pose is I can see the funny bone across. And remember I said in bent arms you're going to see more of a triangle, and that's the ulna moving out of the hinge and down. All right, so I want to do some boxes before this gets too far in. Width, height, depth, copy and paste. And from the back view, I'm going to try to show above the rib cage. Oops, dark. You can also, if you want, pause if you're just working on the time poses like this, pause and spend more time on one area. I kind of I like the finite amount of time because it forces me to think and work efficiently. because I know I don't have a lot of time to mess around. So here's my boxes and then some cylinders. Say this one might come back out at us. And this one goes away. Okay, let's try this one. Scoot this guy over. So gesture. Again, that raising pelvis here. Have our femur. Could do the same thing as far as spending a little bit more time to check the weight. And that center of gravity. So foot's going down. This leg's going back. So I'm going to use those wrapping lines, and I should probably bring it up a little bit. And then across. Arms raising. And then it's going across the head here. Okay. Tilt. Shaped. Connections. Stretch. Pinch. Wrapping lines and overlaps. This side's stretching. This side's pinching. Landmarks. So clavicles here are raised. If the arm's gone above that horizontal position, this side not so much. So I'm just going to take that little S curve and pull it up. Sternum. And follow it through the whole symmetry line if it helps you position the rotation. Here's the thoracic arch. I can see it ending kind of consistent with where the shadow is developing. Anterior crest. Perspective. Lining up those points, finding planes. So I'm trying to go a little bit quicker in this one. Just, which also means less talking. So bottom. And here's the lower pelvis. So there's my height and depth. And these could be pretty loose. Arm goes up. So there I'm seeing the cylinder of the arm there. And then the arm turns in and across. So I think we'd see it like this. And then this arm comes forward. You could double check the length or drop a rhythm line to see it against the side of the rib cage and then forward. So I think in terms of doing these as exercises at home, it's better or it's a better idea to do them with the time and then not finish because it's going to force you to go through that system of steps and get familiar with that as a workflow. Femur, I'm going to add a little bit to the leg here, surrounded with space. And lower leg. So if you want, you could just see it as a cylinder, or you can just set up the bone. And then let's add a triangle. So I think it's important, I mean, for a pose like this to see the triangle and then show some kind of weight, right? Instead of it just looking like he's jumping. Right? So it gives me a sense of the impact. This going back. This going across. Here's a little triangle shape for the back of the foot or underside of the foot. And then I would put maybe the perspective like this. For the hands, sometimes you could just create little kind of like flatten boxes or a deck of cards, something like that, for just getting started on the end, and then I'll put a gestural shape off that for the fingers. We're going to do the head more kind of as a focus lesson next week, but sometimes in these sketches I'll just put in a jaw shape. And this underside for me is the same as doing like a cylinder from underneath. And it's just setting up the perspective. And then this will be our last one. We'll just give one more a shot. And we did this one in gesture also, the gesture lesson, so maybe it's good to show here so you can see that same pose built. I think we did this one, if not very similar to it. So a little bit messier with the lines now. Working a little bit faster. Here's this. And I like, this is a really cool line if you think from the front all the way down and out. And so I try to do this a lot for supporting lines in the body, or non-weight bearing lines in the body, to see if I can make them as long as possible. It just gives that extra sense of fluidity or movement. I'm just going to start the arm there, and then I'll put that there. There's my foreshortened gesture. So clearly the tilt is really high, and then the ribcage tilt is back, neck is forward, head is back, shapes, beginning and ending. And so there's that idea I was talking about with the underside of the jaw. If you want to play with this, it's just the bottom of a cylinder. That's all I show for that, and a gesture to indicate it. This is stretching. So let's find the back of the skull, pinching, and then cut through, rib cage. Find your symmetry line. So this is 3/4 through the stomach or belly button down to the bottom of the pelvis, and then landmarks, clavicle. Clavicle on this side would be up, sternum, thoracic arch here, here, as is, usually just underneath unless there's a twist. At least that's how I look at it. That gives you that smiley face. Here's the great trochanter, knee, tibia. Okay, so let's box this out. Height, width, just connecting the dots. And again, if I wasn't clear about this earlier, one thing that's maybe worth mentioning is that the box and the egg are not two different things. I think of them as the same thing. Your egg is like a piece of clay. The box is you coming in and slicing off parts of that to make it more planar and specific. So the egg, as a whole, it's a mass. Whenever you're making these decisions, you're taking parts of this egg and then cutting it off. So imagine that your pencil, or in this case, digital pencil, is a knife, and that you're just shaving this part off. And then you could throw it away. But that makes this kind of a clean plane that we can work on for later. The reason I mention that is because sometimes people will make an egg and then put their boxes in here, or vice versa. They'll make an egg and then the box like takes over. They're supposed to be the same thing. I try not to think of them as being separate if possible. Oh, I did forgot my connections there. So I'll just go back and add it in. Got a little ahead of myself. It happens. 2/3 of the way down, where the great trochanter, the femur would be. Find the position for the knee. If you get lost, you can kind of create an arc from the other side if you think you are confident with that. And then here's my perspective. I think this one still comes at us just slightly. I could be wrong, but it looks like this. And then let's say, just for the sake of having some fun, that this one goes back. I don't usually curve my cylinders. That's another thing worth mentioning is for that lower leg, I probably wouldn't do this because when I add muscles on this, it's going to distort or feel like the whole is distorted. So that's four, just to kind of get you thinking about what the exercise for this week should be or how you can think of it. Um, Hopefully that helps clear up some of the issues or give you some more examples as to how I would work through this approach.